apart from everything else was in Afar, but okay, thank you also for inviting me. I'm very honored that I'm one of the few non-Afar to be here, and also to try to contribute a bit, and also especially to learn from things that are discussed here. So I think I met a lot of people that I met already 4 years ago, and who know that I've been working in the Afar region for, no, it's 10 years. I did my dissertation there and on risk perceptions and how people deal with risks. Actually, my research was not specifically on women, but they were one main group. I talked with them, and of course there are differences in the way women and men perceive problems that they are facing. We heard a lot already about female genital mutilation within the last 1.5 days, but of course that's only one problem. There's a lot of big sack of problems that these people are facing. I did a case study in a specific region that I'm going to present here, and also I have some interviews from even this year to, as we heard already from John Markakis, there's a tremendous social change going on in that region, and this is also what I will highlight. What is happening in that region and where are these people heading? Okay, let us start to see a bit what is the context of problems, insecurity, the current challenges for these pastoralists before I continue with how do they see these changes, how do they deal with them, and then come to a conclusion. Here you see two maps. The one is the Afar region within the Ethiopian context, one of several regional states in the northeastern part. And the other one on the left-hand or the right-hand side from you, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just at the big map shows actually the Afar Triangle, which should be, I mean, this is a word that you all know. It's a political term. It's also a geological term. But it refers to the region where Afar people were settled probably, I would say, 100 years ago, which covers the Afar region, parts of Djibouti and Eritrea, and which they claim as their territory. And we see there's a problem. If you see, I don't have this nice thing that Rüdiger had, so I go here. This area currently is settled by Isa, Somali-speaking pastoralists who have occupied all this area within the last 60, 70 years. So this is a highly contested area because this is land that Afar lost, and as we know, pastoralists depend on mobility, the ability to move to between rainy and dry season areas. So we have a mixed context of natural hazards. We already heard about famine that is normal in that area. Drought is a normal thing in these dryland regions. We also heard from John Markakis these severe governmental interventions that have been increasing since the 1950s. Especially the land appropriation.
Und hier ist weiter.
Und okay, weiter, super. Und wo ist dieser, wo man sonst anläuft?
Ach so, ne, der musst du da reinstecken.
Ach so,
oder willst du von Hand?
Nee, dann ist gut so.
Ja, also dann kannst du jetzt nur den roten Punkt hier.
Okay. Oh, great.
Vorne.
Ja. Okay, sorry. Okay, so, and we have multiple violent conflicts.
Ist jetzt nur zum Zeigen.
Yeah, genau, zum Zeigen weiter. So internally with Issa and especially also along the border with Eritrea, there were conflicts. And also the Ogaden War also had some impact on this region. Sorry for not speaking into the microphone. Sometimes you have to say if you can't hear me, okay? And sorry for speaking English, my French is really a bit poor. So if I should speak slower, please let me know, okay?
You said about 100 years the Afar settled, so I'd like to know that one. Can you elaborate, because there's some misunderstanding already.
Yeah.
You said that these are the area where the Afar settled 100 years ago. Are you talking about down here?
Like we say, this triangle.
100 years ago?
Yes, that's, I think these areas were, at least they were used. They were used at rainy season areas. The areas around Era, for example. The Era River. That's what Afar people told me. Of course, I don't know. Yeah, that's what Afar
was wondering, the indigenous Afar people are 100 years in this area. Is that what you're saying? Or?
Like before the Italian invasion. Yeah, when the Italians invaded during colonial times, 1930s. It was. You see this here's Dirdawa,
Oh,
your
okay,
birthplace.
talk about the area down. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want that to make clarify.
There's still in our, here you see the railway.
Yes.
There's
Okay,
Rettberg, all these areas, huh?
Okay.
Okay. So just,
Just so, to make clear, that's what.
Okay.
Please, no question and answer.
Okay.
Finish.
Sorry.
So again, the case study area, actually I worked within around Gawana area, which is in the middle Awash Basin, and it's along the AFA-ISA front line actually, where both groups, AFA and ISA Somali pastoralists, are facing each other. We have recurrent clashes between these groups. They are diminishing now, or within the last 10 years, but still it's everyday reality, because based on these contested ethno-territorial claims. But we have also increasing problem of land conflicts between AFA clans themselves, who are fighting about land that is getting more and more scarce. That is a problem. And of course, it has gotten a monetary value. Before, land was for grazing. Now, land, you can make money out of it, and of course, this changes the attitude of many people now. So, again, this is big social changes taking place in this area. And there's also conflict with federal police. I don't know if you know this area very well, but we know that this road is a main economic vein for the Ethiopian economy. They depend on this road. So there's federal police along the road, and there are constant conflicts between pastoralists who want to cross the road with their guns that they need for protection of their herds and the federal police. So there are different conflicts on different levels, and this is everyday reality for people who are living along this road close to the Awash, which goes to Djibouti. And what you see also on this map, which I might come back to that later, again, this is an area settled currently by the Isa people, in which they claim where they want to stay. And the administrative question so far is highly contested. I don't want to go into that because my topic is gender. But we might talk about that as well also, because that still solution is pending, and this will also be very important for the development of the whole region if this conflict would be solved in one day, inshallah. Okay, so the case study area is called Badu, in the middle Awash area, around Gawana. We already heard that, along the Awash. Actually, in the past, a very beneficial area with nice grazing, especially during the dry season. But this area has completely changed due to several factors, which I will present now, and which poses severe challenges for these people and a need to change their livelihood system fundamentally. First of all, I already mentioned that we have a loss of land, a key resource for pastoralists due to the expansion of the Isa people, who have been invading in recurrent clashes, big wars. Since the invasion of the Italians, there has been a movement to the west, because at that time the Isa Somalis could gain the military overhand. Before, the Afa were more strong, they were hunting the Isa. Part of this warrior mentality also. I mean, there was this conflict is nothing new. It has been going on for several centuries already, but it has been politicized during the last decades tremendously. So that means now the Afar are moving around here somehow. Before they were moving between rainy season, these areas, and dry season areas, but now they're running in circles. This, of course, means there's an increased overgrazing along the Awash River, increase of animal diseases, especially these flat-bone diseases, because this is a wetland area. And animals the Afa also leave that area during the rainy season because there are mosquitoes, there are problems, there are health risks. And of course, since they lost these rainy season areas, food insecurity has increased. Talking about this with pastoralists, men and women alike, there's no difference. They stress the politicization of the conflict, they stress the impact on food security, and the political sector has play a big role in this storyline, especially the impact of Greater Somalia ideology, but also the impact of Ethiopian politics, the divide and rule. Because, I mean, a question that always comes to my mind, why has this conflict never been solved within such a long time. And they say, Afa and Isa like, I also talk to Isa and say, oh, the government is playing with us, they like it. If there's a conflict, then they can take our land. Coming back to the issue of land. Yeah? It's much easier if they fight, they're occupied, so that's what especially the intellectuals perceive as a big strategy of Ethiopia at the moment. The second problem, contributing to this loss of land. And you see here a map which shows the growth of an invasive species, which is called Prosopis uliflora, also called Woyanahara, Darkara, Datahara. Yeah, there are several words that refer to this exotic plant that was introduced by the government in the late 1980s to improve the microclimate or for some purpose. They thought probably it was beneficial, but it turned out to be a big enemy. And you see the red spots. In 2000, it was growing in some spots in that area, which is called Badu. It has probably size 20 kilometers. And now you see 2010, almost all the important dry season grazing areas in Badu are overtaken by Prosopis. What I said already, the rainy season areas, mostly they're not accessible anymore because there's Isa, and there's a fear to lose your life, there's a risk to lose the animals, so people in certain areas can't just go. Dry season areas now overtaken by Prosopis, so what shall these people do? And they're really overwhelmed by the speed of the expansion. They lack the tools, the knowledge, how to deal with the plant as a new plant. And they say, nobody's helping us. I mean, it's also interesting, the government, I mean, this problem now is there for 15 years, but still there's nothing happening, nothing. I mean, they also get annoyed if people like me or other people come there and ask again questions, because, I mean, they want something to be moved, yeah? And not, I mean, it's obvious that this is killing them. And there's also additional environmental problems, like deforestation. In this area, there have been, in the past, nice forests also along the river. These forests are getting cut totally, also by AFA, who are like trying to make benefit from charcoal. So charcoal production is a big business, which is in the hand of men. Women are actually not benefiting from that at all, but at the moment some AFA people are becoming really rich. They told me when I was there in April, oh no, it's one client said, charcoal, oh it's like oil. It's for us. Yeah? It's a black gold. But the majority of the people who have nothing to do with it, they said, oh, it's a big problem because it also creates tensions, social tensions. It, again, increases the influx of Highlanders, yeah, who work there as migrant laborers. They are the ones who are producing the charcoal. And we're coming to that also in the context of this Tendaro sugarcane plantation. The influx of Highlanders is threatening many people. They want to protect also the upper Ada, and they don't want to be assimilated. I mean, that's what I heard from people. You might have different opinion, but that's what people told me. And the third problem, already mentioned several times, governmental appropriation of land. There's this sugarcane plantation, which of course also produces ethanol, biofuel. We have, starting in 2011 or 2012, this villagization program. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but where the government has a strategy now to bring these people together in villages. They're telling, oh, now we offer you infrastructure, there will be water, schools, health, which sounds nice. But people say it's imposed on us. Again, this, what John Markakis also said, this problem of things are imposed. We don't have a say. And they also again have the fear. Actually, they say, oh, this probably is there's a hidden agenda. This might be a strategy of the government. Again, we are squatting around these villages and then they're taking over the rest of the land. So again, land, as you see, plays a big role in these perceptions of things that are going on and fears. As you see on this map, this is actually not Rwanda, but also work around Asaita, Uwa, Aura. These areas, there are big projects now going on. I mean, not everybody knows now all this area. This area is with the stripes is 10 down sugarcane plantation. It's going to be 90,000 hectares, which is huge, massive. And this previously was dry season grazing area for the people, so they lost that. But there also is these, what you see here, these blue signals, here. They're Teru as well. They're going to be big villagization projects. And as you see, these all were very important grazing areas. Ua was very nice during the rainy season, Ua Aura. Many people moved there. These arrows indicate movements between dry and wet season. And so pastoralism, grazing areas, will be heavily affected by these ongoing governmental interventions. And actually, I'm sure some other people will say it's a good thing, it's a good development. Also in the regional government, there's not that much resistance, but I heard also, this is just rumors, but that some clans also got arrested in Afambo because they resisted these developments. So there are tensions going on, and we will see how things develop there. Yeah, I mentioned the social tensions, talking to the people. Actually, they have these enemies like Isa, like Prosopis, also the government. But also there are big internal changes now that people are worried about. This social change that John Markakis mentioned several times, that is going on, and we can't stop it, and it's normal and it's good. But what say do the other people have in the development that they want? What is happening? How can they take the stick in their hand for this development that is going on there now? At the moment we see pastoralism is in crisis. John Markakis said it's dead already. I think it's still somehow surviving, but yeah, the future is not positive. So probably there will be fundamental changes. So we see now weakness of clan leaders who are now after money, who are not really playing this role model anymore as they did in the past. There's a crisis of leadership. Also, the regional government has no legitimacy, as far as I see, among the pastoralists. So who's leading us? Who can give us some direction? There's loss of orientation and insecure pastoral identity. There are no animals anymore. So what does it mean to be a pastoralist nowadays? So the questions of identity also. And what change do we want? And from my opinion, there's really a need of empowerment of these local communities, that they have the capacity to take the development in their own hands. We also heard that education will be a key in the future, to be really able to think ahead, to ask yourself, okay, from our culture, what can we preserve? What has to change? This female genital mutilation, we heard Islam is actually not saying, this is actually is saying it's bad. But there's Afa'ada. As you all know, you know that much better than me. And this is very strong. The Islam is one thing that is important for the pastoralists. But the other thing is Afa'ada. And this is sometimes controversial to what Islam says. So we have to deal with both. And I think the establishment of a civil society, to organize these people that they speak up for themselves, this will be a big task where probably all of you can contribute somehow to see how can these people organize and stand up for themselves. So, how much minutes do I still have? 5. Okay, I have to hurry. Let me, then speed up a bit. So just to summarize what we've seen, when people talk, the pastoralists in that area talk about their problems. First of all, there's a strong victimization. There are these external enemies that are threatening them. They feel marginalized, of course, and they say, who's to blame for that? It's the outside enemies, especially the Ethiopian government. And talking about history, also the Somalian government, some people say also Djibouti is somehow involved. Anyway, that's geopolitics. I don't want to go into that. And, but on the other hand, we have also internal social change. And this implies also, now coming back to gender, a reshuffling of gender roles. What do I mean? Let me just cite some women. For as long as we remember, it's always women who face more hardship and do more work. Men, all they worry about is where they're going to get the money to buy chud. Women, on the other hand, everything they sell, they bring money for their family. So this, of course, points to the traditional gender roles, because women are responsible for the reproduction of the household, that there's enough food on the table. And, but of course, now there's food insecurity due to the impoverishment, so women are forced to adapt, to do something. Men somehow are conceived as getting more and more irresponsible, because chud, I think you share my vision, is a big problem in that area. So there's a loss of male support for the family's food security. Another problem, and I think Rettberg also mentioned that, there's female genital mutilation, we have absuma marriages, forced marriages. So many women are under huge social pressure, and they're forced to marry sometimes guys who are 40 years older, they don't like them. So many women are killing themselves, they're committing suicide, or they go to Djibouti. Yeah? Or they go to Eritrea, as you said. So there's a situation that points to imbalances, gender imbalances, and of course, situations that should not be supported and continue like that. And there might be also an increase in domestic violence and male irresponsibility. I also heard of many cases where women get abused when they're married, and where they flee from, escape from. So this might increase with the loss of being a pastoralist, feeling strong, having many animals. I mean, this is not a question to me, but this is a question, what does it mean to be a man pastoralist? I mean, what is the marker for identity, for feeling strong, masculine, yeah? I mean, being a warrior probably played a big role. But of course now, I mean, killing others, yes, I mean, in the past. but this also doesn't play a big role anymore. Society is changing. And so there are challenges also to redefine your male and female identity, masculinity. As I said here. So there's a trend of sedentarization, the weakening of the pastoralism, so the male role as a breadwinner also diminished. But women, they're forced to do a lot of stuff nowadays. We see here some pictures, and those of you who are aware of the area will note that not all of these women are AFA women, but I found these pictures with speed, and actually these are ISA women. This is ISA woman, ISA girl, ISA woman, AFA woman, AFA woman. But actually these gender roles are the same. The gender roles and the way these people are living are more or less similar. So of course, as I said, food security, preparing the food, water collection, taking care of shoals and sheep and goats. This has been the traditional issues, but based on on top of that now, a lot of other work has to be done in order to generate income, because there are not enough animals anymore. So people have to diversify, some go to Djibouti to work. A lot of people now start with small-scale agriculture. I'm trying to hurry.
Yeah.
Just don't shoot me from behind.
Another 3 minutes. I'm just giving extra now.
Okay, all right.
Being kind.
Okay. So what we have now, we have 3 different pathways. There are some people who still continue mobile pastoralism. Actually, this picture has been taken in April. Yeah? And some of you might know this mountain, Ayelu. When you go that road, so you can approximately imagine where that is. It's an area called Molale. Molale is a rainy season area. Nowadays, where people go also along the front line with ISA, there's also every day some conflict risks. So this was a rainy season settlement. And this is also the typical Giba people, the Furainus, the young men who are with heavy weapons and who are like supposed to protect the herds. Of course, also these pastoralists, they interact closely with their relatives who stay behind in the permanent settlements in Guyana, or some stay in India Deuter. There are some settlements that have now become permanent, and there's a strong interaction, a sharing. They give milk, the others give maize, yeah, because that's how they survive nowadays. There's the only way how these people can make their living. And this the resilience of these pastoralists is currently based that they keep these strong social institutions for collective action. But as I said, this is weakening. We have a second development. We have impoverished cattle herders, because it was especially the cattle that got affected in 2003 in the last drought and who died. Some of these pastoralists became destitute, especially the sick ones, the old ones, those who have a lot of little children but no strong relatives who can work on farms or do anything. And so these people are dependent on relatives or food aid. And they settled especially around urban cores where they have access to food aid and to relatives who can support them. And then we have another group of these destitute people who started to move out of pastoralism. Yeah? Who transformed. They were forced. They didn't do that by will, but they also became sedentary, but they started to work or to pick cotton, to do small-scale agriculture. Also, this picture is from April this year. Again, we have the mountain. Now from another perspective. And this is a small 1 hectare plot of Bukolo, of maize, around the Awash River, that a woman started to do on her own. And this is a new development. When I was there 5 years ago, actually this small-scale agriculture was mostly done by men who started to do it. There was not much knowledge, but now, more and more, it's women who take up this activity. And we will say, okay, now our situation, our food security is getting better. Yeah? We are now supporting our relatives who live in these settlements on the slide before who are destitute. And as you see here, this is the land use in that area. And if I would show you the same area in, I don't have a map now, in 1980, probably there were only these state farms that are now privatized or abandoned. Yeah? There were these big area during their established governmental state farms. But now all these orange areas, these are new farms, new large farms by investors. And these maize things, these are all small-scale farms by previous pastoralists, now where they start on their own. And just coming back to what does it mean for the gender roles? Citation of a woman. I mean, you can all read, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. So this Fatuma lady, I met her this year in April 2014. She said, "Today, women do the same as men. It is just physical limitation, the malnutrition of the women. We women are way better than the men. Back then now talking about past, there was milk. Women were mostly working in the household and men were tending the animals. Today everything is different. Women often have to do the work of the men. I'm a female-headed household. I do not have a husband and I have to do everything on my own. This can be something good." Oh yeah. Today there are women who start doing their own farming. Some of our people who are living around the asphalt road, like Ashka, which is a small place along the road, they start to depend on us, on what we grow like the maize. Women are starting to grow stronger. Women are more affected by health issues than men because a woman's workload, the health status is not very good. Men, for example, additionally, they do not give birth, they are not getting pregnant. And also carrying water on the back, we can have kidney problems. Okay. So, as I said, the general trend, income generation, women work much more than men. men also are reluctant to work physically for others, apart from these gender expectations. So there's a highly increased workload, what also Fatuma mentioned. Okay, I'll go over this. Institutional trends, commodification of land, we know mostly men benefit from that. We also had a trend, I think it has changed, of cooperatives. There were cooperatives, oh, you know this guy? Yeah. Yes, this head. Yeah. So there's this educated AFA, and I'm sure many of you count to this group. They can play a big role in channeling knowledge, capital, learning. These people have to learn somehow in order to adapt. And we've seen these clan-based developments. Some of you might know this Lea Sita cooperative that was established in that area and that really brought a change. And but now my impression is that many of these cooperatives now fail again. Also, I think Haida, you might share some knowledge with us about that. These women cooperatives, why they failed, and I mean, we can discuss it later because I want to finish. And so, is it better to have cooperatives? Because now people going back to their individual efforts. Okay, which point will I? This is my last slide, yeah? Okay, this I wanted to bring back to the generals. So actually, I just mentioned the last point. If we look at these developments, we see that some women get empowered. They say, oh, we're becoming stronger, we're doing more stuff. But doing more and being economically more engaged also increases the vulnerability. It gives a woman more power in the household because they're now they're becoming the breadwinners more and more in that area. I'm not talking generally about AFA, yeah? It's impossible. But in that area. But of course, they have to pay a cost for a high cost for that, and this is their health. And actually, the rules, the tradition of ownership and all these things hasn't changed yet. Yeah? That brings them into somehow also somehow inferior position. Okay, so we have seen a lot of points. I hope it was not too much information and questions for you. We talked about the context of insecurities, the many different problems people are facing there. And we have seen the way how people talk about these problems and how they try to make sense of the situation, which is actually a big challenge for them because they have to transform their livelihood system. And also John said that. This is, where are they heading? They're saying we, the AFA, have become weak. We don't know where we are going. Yeah? And we don't have any leaders. So I think it's also a good chance for the AFA diaspora, for people who know about this area, who have knowledge and who have the will to contribute, to really try to contribute to sustainable gender-sensitive development in that area. Okay, thank you very much.
When you do good things, there is a byproduct. When you make a nice gold, you have to put it in a fire and then you have to melt it. And so anything that happened, this glitch is to do that good thing. So don't worry about that. I just wanted to say thank you very much for Simone to bring this extensive research. Simone, our idea after me, محايلو عقيد بابني عفر بارول تنقيد بابني أهدي بكو إثيوبيا هدي وهدي أبتماي جبوتي تكيك إريتريا تكيك إنك حالتها. It's the same thing that is happening in Ethiopia. It's the same thing happening in Djibouti and Eritrea. Nothing different, So the Afars are in danger everywhere. So and you guys have, I'm sure, learned from that and. You will get so that we can see what we have to do as individuals. And I would like to say thank you very much. Mr. Nu'man will keep this award for Simone. And Simone has been really true. I met her first in Awash, way back, and she sleeps, and they call her Asazahara, by the way. Her Afar name is Asazahara. And that's the way they Afar know her. And she goes and sleeps under bridges, and she sleeps on the road, and talk to the people, and they really love her down there. Thank you very much, Simone. Thank you very much.
يمكن